Hello guys, what is up? Welcome to Airsoft Tech Talk episode 8. So as you can see, my desk is a complete and total mess. I have parts everywhere on this side, that is, and a little bit on this side. I only got my computer back here behind me. But everything right here is a total disaster because I am working on 2 guns right here at once, so I am really busy. But there'll be some really cool videos coming up soon. One about the SHS DSG. This is the brand new SHS DSG. So I'm making a review on this part once I get this build done. And yeah, some cool videos will be coming out soon. But without further ado, let's get down to the questions. Call sign Smalls asks, thoughts on the new Retro Arms trigger switch style FET? Okay, so the new Retro Arms Mosfet thing looks pretty awesome. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but it's just kind of cool. The one thing I do know about it that I don't like is that it only can handle up to an 11.1 volt LiPo, not a 14.8 volt, not an 18.5 volt that, well, the Spectre can handle up to a 14.8 volt. So, the whole Retro Arms MOSFET unit, it brings competition to the market because currently, when it comes down to MOSFETs and like great MOSFETs, BTC or Blacktown Concepts owns the market. They just destroy it. Their MOSFETs are the best around, just to be blunt. So the new Retro Arms MOSFET coming in, though upon first inspection isn't as good as the BTC, still can bring competition to the market because it's probably going to have a lower price tag, probably around $70 something, I'd say, which is, you know, $30 cheaper than the BTC, which a lot of people I'm going to say are going to buy the Retro Arms instead of the BTC, or the Retro Arms including the BTC so they can compare them and all that kind of stuff. I will be the second person. I'll buy the Retro Arms, compare it, and see if I like it. But upon first inspections, it's cool, number one. Number two, it still requires the cutoff lever. And number three, it can only handle up to 11.1 volts, so it's kind of iffy. And the whole reason why I like BTC, or one of the reasons, is because I don't have to use a cutoff lever. And with the Retro Arms one, it looks like I'm going to have to. So I don't like cutoff levers. I don't think very many people do. So that's a problem. But like I said, it's kind of good and bad. It brings competition to the market, which is always good, but it also brings stuff that people don't like. The cutoff lever having to be used, only handling an 11.1 volt, stuff like that. So, ending thoughts, it's cool, but that's about it. So, I'll have to actually get one and review it until then. Hendra Siswanto asks, can you tell me the best parallel battery 11.1 volt setup is for a crane stock, and is it worth it? Alright, so this is an interesting question. I figured I'd get it before now, but better late than never. So this is a question about series and parallel battery connectors. This is a series connector right here, and this is a parallel connector. I made both these a while back when I first started teching. They proved to be very, they had a lot of value, I guess you could say, back then. I still use them, but not quite as much. What they do is they help combine the battery to give them either more voltage or more storage or amps and that kind of stuff. So this is a series, and what it does is when you plug up a battery to it, say I want to make a 14.8 volt battery, but I've only got 2 7.4 volt batteries. Well, 7.4 times 2 is 14.8. Since I've got 2, I can plug them up into a series connector and make them into a 14.8 volt battery setup. And while not as efficient as a full brick 14.8 volt LiPo, it's still a 14.8 volt LiPo. So it combines voltage and not, the storage. The other one, on the other hand, a parallel, connects 2 batteries together to increase their storage capacity, their milliamp hour and that kind of stuff, their amp hour. So how this works is if I say I have 2 7.4s that are each 1800 mAh, and I need something at least above 3000, or at least above 3000 mAh, or 3 amps. So I could take this and say, well, I've got 2 7.4s that are each 1800 mAh, and I can plug them up on this, and I'll get 1600 mAh, or sorry, not 1600 mAh, 3600. So, or 3.6 amps, which is above what I need, so I'm set there. So that's how you can do that. You can take these 2 type of connectors and go back and forth. And while not as efficient as using a brick LiPo that has, that is a 14.8 volt or that is 3 amps, it still works. And I use these from time to time to combine my small 7.4s to make them bigger, stronger, etc. Now a good setup would be, like if you want to take them and combine them into parallel so you have more storage, you can take two short, small 11 volt LiPos like that, and if you're running a stock setup, you know, plug them up into something like this, and then plug them up into the gun, and so you have, say, one of the 11 volts was like 1200 mAh, 1.2 amps, and then the other one was the same. Plug them up and run them into the gun, and they'll work fine. And so you have now an 11 volt LiPo that is 2.4 amps or 2400 mAh. So it can solve some problems here and there, and if that's what you're asking for, I've done it before, and you just got to get batteries that'll fit into the crane stock, and that's it. Also, when using these, you want to make sure that that you are using the same battery. You don't want to plug up, say, a 7.4 that is 20 to 40 C discharge with a 7.4 that is 70 to 80 or 90 discharge. You don't want to do that because one will run out before the other one, and it'll kind of like burn the whole system out. And you don't want to do that. That's very bad for batteries. It'll work, you know, as long as you don't drain one more than the other a lot, because you're pulling a lot. Because what this does is it pulls an even amount from both, and that's what it wants to do. So if you have one that can do more and one that can do less, you're kind of like pulling differently. I would kind of compare it to lifting two weights that are different weight, you know, literal different weights at the same time. It's just not good for you, and it's not good for the batteries, from what I've heard from other guys that are really into LiPos. I'm not the greatest into LiPos. I don't know everything about them, but that is what I do know, and that's what I've heard around and stuff like that. So yes, series, parallel, multiply voltage, multiply storage capacity. Mega Airsoft asks, major question. This is my first time shimming beveled opinion, and it seems that I shimmed my bevel as high as I possibly could, but when I used the half shell method and shot it, it pushed the bevel gear upward. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here. I have SHS 13-1 and a Golden Eagle 22 TPA high torque motor. Please answer this question. Thanks. Shimming problems are probably the most painstaking and ridiculous problems that you could possibly have. I hate them so much. That being said, I have them a lot. Not because I don't know how to shim. I know how to shim. I've written many shimming guides, so I know what I'm doing when it comes down to shimming, and I've made very good AEGs that the gears still run today. So it's not that I don't know how to shim, it's just that when I shim, I run into a lot of problems. And so it's always good to have a streamlined system when you're shimming, so you have like this plan that you're going from point A to point B, because when you're going on from point A to point B, C can throw you off and D can throw you off. So you don't want to get caught in the middle from those things. So you want to have a streamlined system. The problem you're having is, I think that I understand exactly what you're talking about. The only problem is that I don't understand how that can be a problem, because that shouldn't be happening if you're shimming correctly, is what I'm trying to say. You're using the half shell method, and this is an outdated method of shimming. The half shell method is a system in which you would set up this apparatus. You have your motor grip with your motor, it's all installed and secured, the bevel gear with its single bearing or bushing underneath, and then the half of the shell. And what you would do with this is that you would set your motor height, and then you take it apart. Once you got perfect motor height, take it apart, put a couple shims underneath the bevel gear, test side-to-side movement. If it's too tight or too loose, add or remove shims as necessary, etc., until you get the right bevel height, and so you get the right bevel shimming. The only problem with this is that it introduces a variable that the bevel gear is not perfectly secured in this apparatus. It's loose because it has up and down movement, if you can't see, back and forth, because there's no other half of the shell to secure it down. My method, and I claim that I invented this, uses the other half of the gearbox shell, this half, and secures it in there as well. So it's basically looking like this when you're done, except on both sides. And then what you do, here it is, you would take a Dremel and you would carve out a little window here next to the bevel gear. And now that your bevel gear is secured, your motor is secured, and your motor grip is secured, and everything is secured and there are hardly any variables at all, then you test side-to-side movement on the bevel gear. I'm actually going to make a full-length video on this, on how to shim, going from the bevel, spur, sector, even piston up. And so I can show you guys my method of shimming and why I think it's really the only way you can shim, because I know people can get the half shell method right. I know it's possible, and I used to shim like that until I just noticed how inefficient it was. And so, but at the same time, I know people who can do the half shell method in 5 minutes and get it right. That's perfectly fine, because in all honesty, any good tech really should be able to do that, and I can too. It's just that I like this better because sometimes with the half shell method, you can rush through it and be like, okay, I did it right, and it took you 10 minutes. Put the whole gun together, pull a trigger, and it makes this horrid, wretched screeching sound. So, and that's because you didn't shim right, or you just did something wrong, obviously. So I like to shim in such a way that I eliminate all the possible variables I can, and then go from there. But like I said, I'm going to make a full-length video on this. It's probably going to be a video of about 10-15 minutes long, explaining the entire process for shimming. Until then, if you're still curious on how to shim and a better explanation of this in words, you can go to Airsoft Society and look at the shimming guide on there. I actually wrote that, so have fun with it. Pedro Garcia asks, hey, what's the hardest spring an Ares Electric M4 can support on stock settings? Okay, so there's a basic rule I have when I'm working with stock guns, and whenever somebody wants me to do a spring swap into a stock gun, like say they give me an Ares M4, like the one you're talking about, and they say, hey, can you install me a strong spring in this so I can play field? Sure, why not? I, get the deal set up, I get the gun, and I install the spring that they want. However, the only rule I have is that it won't be above an M120 spring, because stock internals, pretty much no matter what they are, cannot handle more than an M120 spring reliably. Either the gearbox shell will crack, or the piston will wear out too quick, the pickup tooth will wear out, etc. So whenever somebody wants me to do a spring swap, given it is a stock gun, I will not do anything more to it, put anything more into it other than an M120. Now, the lowest I'll go is also an M190, but that's a different story. But the gun you're talking about, which is an Ares gun, the gearbox shells are not the toughest on those, and the pistons are tougher. On the newer models are pretty tough. So I would be comfortable putting an M120 spring in that gearbox, like I said, nothing more, because the gearbox shell is going to blow out the front pretty fast on anything more. Even with an M120 spring, you definitely want to run a radius gearbox shell, and you might want to look into sorbothane. I don't normally use sorbothane anymore because it's just been unnecessary for half the builds I do, but sorbothane is an option. Of course, radius is the best option by far if you ask me. But yeah, an M120 spring is probably the most I would go in that gun, even if it was my gun. I would not put any more into it than an M120 spring, because that is what most stock guns can handle. So yeah, M120 spring, that's the answer. Rian92319992 asks, alternate way/build for achieving fast trigger response besides BTC feds and DSGs, limited to AEGs. Okay, so besides using a DSG and besides using a Black Talon Concepts FET, the second, or really the third best way of achieving trigger response is getting really low ratio gears, something like 10:1 ratio gears, SSG, not DSG, and using either a 22 TPA motor, 28 TPA motor, or 32 TPA motor, depending on what you want exactly. If you want, as low a rate of fire as you can get, then go 10:1 ratio gears, 32 TPA motor, 11.1 volt LiPo. This will get around 24 RPS or something around there, maybe 23, 24 or something around there. And then if you use a 28 TPA armature, you'll get around 25, 26. But if you use a 22 TPA armature, you're going to get around 35 RPS. So, pick whichever rate of fire you want. They all get about the same trigger response, but that's how you get really good trigger response without going DSG, without going Black Talon Concepts, and yeah, stay in SSG, keeping it AEG. Alrighty guys, well I hope you liked this episode. It was a lot of fun. I haven't done one of these in a while, and like I said, I like to try to do them every 2 weeks on a Friday, because that's when I'm not so busy. I know this isn't Friday, I know it's Saturday. It's Friday somewhere, but yeah, I get really busy and it sucks, but as you can see, I'm totally stocked up with work. I'm about ready to go mow grass soon, so I'm really busy. But yeah, videos that will be coming up, I will be doing an SHS DSG review, because this thing is pretty cool looking, and I actually kind of like it. And then I'll be doing an R-Hot video and all that cool stuff. And then, like I said, shimming. That's all coming, but it's just going to take a while, so I apologize, but I get busy. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you disagree with me and anything that I said here, tell me, download the video and tell me why. If you like this video, upvote it, comment, and tell me why, so I can keep doing what I do and all that stuff. But yeah, if you have any legitimate criticism, tell me. I know I had some criticism last week where somebody was telling me that I looked down too much and I would swallow a lot, and I didn't notice me doing that, but I tried not to do it this time, so I was not consciously aware. So yeah, I'm trying not to do that. But yeah, legitimate criticism is definitely welcome on this channel, because I want to make it better, I want to grow it, and I want you guys to like it. So, that being said, please criticize away, but do it kindly, please. I have a really weak heart. No, not really, I'm just kidding. But still, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So the next one will be coming out in 2 weeks, and I will see you guys later.